Get in. Muy buenos días. Espero que ustedes estén bien. Sí, sí, todo está bien.
Bien.
Sí, más o menos, más o menos. Fantástico. Vamos a practicar. Hoy un poquito de todo. A little bit of everything today. Just a little bit of everything. I promised that we would continue with some number practice. A few of you asked for. If you guys want the site, which gracias, Lori. Thank you, Lori, for sending me that link again. There is a site that will just generate numbers for you to practice. I will make sure I put that in our email as one of the reference links. But I hope you noticed, and we will get back to this. I hope you noticed that in our video from this past week, see, las personas que llegaron a las Américas antes de Colón. And notice that they do not call him Columbus, right? It is Colón. The people who came here before Columbus. They have tons and tons of number references. I hope you noticed all the number references. We will open with some numbers practice since that has been requested, and a lot of people after the class said, yeah, I need a little bit more with that. What I do want to show you, and I will send this as a link, we're not going to watch the whole video, but we're going to watch parts of it because they had a lot of big numbers in that video. Yeah. You know, things in the thousands. And this is kind of an interesting video. I think we're starting about 3 minutes in. We will not watch the entirety of it, but parts of it, the parts where they talk about bigger numbers and how numbers are grouped if you have to read a number back, which is sort of interesting, you know, like phone numbers, that things are actually said in pairs. They'll explain it a little bit better. But before we do our dictado, our little dictation, it will be good to hear some of these bigger numbers because the dictado I will give you will be for bigger numbers. So think of this as our warm-up, el ejercicio de calentar, our warm-up. And we can notice. Make sure I turn on my sound. There we go. They're going to talk about bigger numbers, and I will send you the link to it because if you want a review of smaller numbers, it does that in the beginning that we're cutting out. But we're starting up from the point where they talk about thousands, okay, and they will talk about years, and they will talk about reciting things like phone numbers and stuff like that. That is sort of helpful to know. Because when numbers come at you, whether it's for prices, addresses, you know, lo que sea, whatever it might be, a lot of times our brains aren't really prepared for how to interpret how that information is going to be broken up or expressed. So, can everybody see where it says mil on the screen? See? Sí o no?
Sí.
Bien, gracias. Okay, because I can't see you if you're nodding. Okay.
Oh.
Already learned previously. So for example, 1001 would be 1001. 1154 would be
1154.
Now, the one thing that they mention is we don't say un mil, a thousand. You know, in English, we say a thousand, and it is not, it sounds very odd to a native speaker if you say to them un mil, okay? Un mil is not the way that's expressed. It's just mil, mil.
1673 would be
1673.
So you see, it follows the exact same pattern as before. Now, counting in the thousands is actually pretty easy because we're just going to add the same numbers we already learned before mil as we count up. So for example, 1000 is just mil, but 2000, dos mil, 3000, tres mil.
And notice that mil stays the same. It does not go into a plural form. There is a plural form, miles, but it would be only used if you said something like thousands of people and you don't say how many thousand. Yeah. Miles de personas miles de personas viven en la zona de Phoenix. Yeah. Thousands of people live in the Phoenix area. But or just mil, not un mil, mil, dos mil, tres mil, cuatro mil, etc.
11,000, 11,000.
Once
Or
mil.
500,000, 500,000.
So even if you get into the hundreds of thousands, say the 100 word first. Quinientos is your 500. And then we just add the 1,000. Quinientos mil, quinientos mil.
We'll get into more advanced numbers in a second.
But first, let's get into some real-world usage of numbers that we already know. In many Spanish-speaking countries, big numbers come up when you're dealing with prices or budgeting or dealing with foreign currencies.
And so this is the part where you, as a traveler, might need to know, how do I deal with big numbers when I'm talking about money issues, okay? Because they use different currencies. Some of those currencies may have prices that run into the thousands, even for things that you might not consider a big ticket item. Okay, so that's what they're going to deal with here.
For example, the purse costs 2,500 pesos.
La bolsa cuesta
2,500
2,500 pesos.
Yeah, 2,500, 2,500.
We paid $75 per night for our luxury hotel.
75.
Pagamos $75 por noche por nuestro hotel lujoso.
All right, let's do a harder one based on everything we've learned up till now. That house costs $897,040.30.
Okay, bien, wow.
597, 40.13.
We need something. The 800 does come first. 897, and now we need the 1,000 word. Mil, yeah. And then 40.
Cents.
Esa casa cuesta $897,040 con 30 centavos.
And notice the 30 cents often comes out as con. The con, think of it as the period that we often put out, all right? Not everybody will use that con in every country, but it is a common thing. Con 30, con 30.
Marilyn,
Sí.
pregunta.
Sí.
Do they ever say, like, would they ever say 40.30 centavos? Like, how,
Creo que no. I think not. Con
so it
30.
would just be
I've
con?
heard I've heard the and word, and con. But yeah, not the punto so much. I mean, there might be some places you hear it. There are regional differences with how people will deal with that point. And the smaller number that is below the the one, like what our one odd dollar would be. But the important part is when you get that 897, you still need the mil to indicate that it's in the thousands category. Okay.
Okay, now years can be tricky.
Okay, and here comes years, and this is where we cannot split it up. And you heard this a little bit in the listening video about Columbus, okay, where they talked about certain historical years, historical dates.
Instead of saying years as two separate numbers, like 1999, like we do in English, you're going to say the full number straight through.
So we don't split it up in Spanish to say 19 and 99, okay? And that will not make sense to a Spanish speaker if you break it up, because they don't do that. They take it as the whole number.
So I was born in 1999 would be...
Nací en 1999.
The project started in 2023.
El proyecto comenzó en 2023.
So remember, in English, where we can say 2023 or 2023, in Spanish, you need to say the full number straight out. 2023.
Bonus tip. When saying or writing a date in Spanish, you always start with the day, then with the month, and then the year. So, for example, today is May 22nd, 2025. Hoy es 22 de mayo de 2025.
And you may hear a little variation. Actually, the way I always learned it, but some people don't do it, is hoy es el. El. You may hear an el in front of that 22, 22nd, okay? Hoy es el 22 is also acceptable, is, a common thing. Hoy es el 22 or hoy es 22 de mayo. So, they switch that. Much of Europe does that as well, besides Spanish speakers. So I think in English, are maybe kind of the outliers with this, but hoy es el 22 de mayo de 2025. English speakers don't seem to have a trouble with the years when they're in the 2000s. Anything in the 2000 range. English speakers don't seem to have trouble with 2000. But that 1999, as 1900, English speakers seem to find that a little more challenging. So just remember, it has to read out as the full number in thousands and hundreds, thousands and hundreds. Okay.
Now, big numbers also come up when you're talking about phone numbers or passwords or addresses. Now, this took me some getting used to, but when giving out our phone number in English, we say each digit singularly, but in Spanish-speaking countries, they'll group the numbers in twos. So
this is some question that comes up frequently, and we do split things up into single numbers. Now, if you do that in reciting a phone number, Spanish speakers will understand you, but the way they are going to say it to you, the way they are going to express it is generally in pairs. They're going to pair them up into double digits. And that's just kind of the way they think with that, but kind of hearing it will help as you see it.
For example, my phone number is 602-518-9461.
Mi número de teléfono es 60 25 18 94 61.
So that requires a different thought process, of grouping them into twos, but that's the way they will say phone
Or, for
numbers.
example, my Wi-Fi password is 8888-4218, capital M, little n.
Mi contraseña de Wi-Fi es 88 88 42 18 M mayúscula N minúscula.
Capital is expressed as mayúscula, and little n, small n, is expressed as minúscula, right? You can
Yep,
see.
Marilyn.
See.
Marilyn, I have a question about this one.
Uh-huh.
I know that in Europe, in many countries, when there are repeating numbers, like in this case, the 88 and the 88, they'll say 8888. Is there anything like that? I don't remember that being in Spain, but I remember it clearly in all the UK countries.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. There are cultural things going on with this, with language use. Gracias. Sí, yeah. And notice that she pronounced this word as Wi-Fi. In Latin America, it is known as Wi-Fi, but in Spain, they will pronounce it Wi-Fi. Spain pronounces it as W-I, F-I-Fi, Wi-Fi. They all say Wi-Fi. Everybody on this side of the Atlantic says it as Wi-Fi. So Even amongst Spanish speakers, there are differences with words, how they express some of those. But, the grouping in twos, you can see how that's happening. We'll let
And
them
sometimes the order can be
do a
very
little more.
different. For example, when we talk about addresses. So, for example, I would say my address is 607 Bougainvillea Street, apartment 4, Campestre, Querétaro, Mexico, 03876.
Whereas in Spanish, it would be Calle Bougainvillea 607, Interior or Departamento 4, Colonia Campestre, Código Postal or Zip Code 03876, then the city, the state, and the country. So
And notice how she separated the cero. Yeah, it wasn't 03, it was 03876. So cero is often set off by itself if it leads off. Yeah, like that 03876.
Querétaro would be the city and the state and Mexico.
Now, from here on out, you might see us read some of these numbers because they're getting bigger. So now, what if we ordered something, let's say from Amazon, and we needed to read out our tracking package?
And this one I'm going to pass through because a tracking number you don't really need.
Pregunta.
Sí, sí,
Pregunta.
sí.
So, on the phone
Let's say
number,
1,000 people.
Perdón. Let me take this
Yep.
off so I can see. Sí.
if there's a 0 in the phone number, like 630, it would be
Where
Did
the
you get-
zero falls, if the zero leads off.
but okay, what if the zero's in the one of the two letters, like 002? Would you go? Could you just do
Then
those?
it'll probably be zero by itself and grouping the twos and twos and twos. But it
Okay.
kind of depends on how it falls. But yeah.
Same with the zip code too?
Zip code, and actually those might be different in different countries. Zip code, like how many digits, that's not something I use a
Okay.
lot, but yeah. But it's helpful to see how, don't be surprised if things get grouped in twos. Don't be surprised. And if the cero is left as the beginning, they'll often group the others together in twos. And we're going to let them do a couple more, and then we'll do our dictado. And again, I'll give you the whole link for this so you can listen to it in its entirety, because it reviews a lot of the lower numbers as well, and that's helpful as a review for a lot of people. Aquí vamos. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that mil thing again.
We don't say 1,000 personas.
Yeah, we don't say un mil.
Or 1,000 euros wouldn't be 1,000 euros. Just 1,000 personas or 1,000 euros. So for example, after the earthquake, there were more than 1,000 people in the street.
Después del terremoto, había más de 1,000 personas en la calle.
Or, I can't believe you got his autograph. That has to be worth $1,000.
No puedo creer que conseguiste su autógrafo. Eso debe valer $1,000.
Now, for millions, we have 1,000,000, dos.
And now, here's where there's a big departure. You're not as likely to hear this, so, millones you might hear. When they get into billions, we won't focus on that a lot because you're not as likely to need to actually use billions. But we'll let you hear what it's about just so it doesn't sound like a total shock.
Millones, 3,000,000, etc. Now you see, unlike mil, we do put un before millions.
So, yeah, why does this happen? I cannot tell you. Not un mil, but yes for un millón. Un millón. Un millón. And millón goes into plural forms. Whereas if you have 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 10,000, it's always mil, never miles. Well, very seldom miles. Millón does go into a plural form. So, why do they not do that with mil? I cannot tell you the why, but that's just the way it is. So, un millón, we do insert the un, and then dos millones, tres millones, etc. And millones has a plural form.
Now, there's nothing else really new that we need to learn here. After millions, we're going to use the same structure we used previously. So let's do a few examples. So, how would we say 1,592,413?
Okay, let's see if you can do that. And notice they're even reading it because it's, a lot of numbers. Okay, ¿cómo se expresa? How would you say this? ¿Cómo se dice? 1,593,413. Anybody want to take a stab at that one?
I'll start it, then somebody else follow it. Millones.
Un millón.
Un millón.
Un millón. And now we need the five.
92,000.
592,000.
413.
13. Bien.
1,592,413.
So when we see that number, what people will forget to leave off, they'll read the 592, but don't forget that's 1,000 place marker. So it's 592,000. Okay, so you have the thousands in there, and then our 413.
Once more. 1,592,413.
Okay, and how would we say 365,088,100?
Ah, okay. We've got a millón, and then a mil, and then the 100. We want the 365 with millón.
I'll give it a shot, but boy,
Okay.
this was more confusing than I expected. 365 millones.
Bien.
88,100.
Ah, bien.
300.
And you got your 100. Great, because it's 100 by itself, not 101, 105, 148. But yeah, just 100. Magnífico.
65,088,100. Again. 365,088,100. Now, let's talk about billions and trillions.
Now, we're not going to go so into this because they're rarely used.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make another video about them in the future. But for now, what you need to know is that in English, we say billions, but billones in Spanish is actually for trillions. To say billions, we use mil millones. So
Yeah, okay. So there is one that is really, really odd. Mil millones. Mil millones, 1,000 million. That's a billion. There you go. Mil millones. Mil millones is billion. But un billón does exist as a word, but it's used for trillion. Are you likely to...
Won't somebody in Spain please pass a law to change that?
Would somebody, that would have to go through Real Academia Española, all the countries that use Spanish. And in order for it to go through RAI, Real Academia Española, in order to go through there, all the other countries have to say, hey, nobody uses this the way we've been told is the rule anymore. And what people actually use is this, and then they vote on it. It is that way. So, you know what? This is what they're used to. Yeah, it's confusing for the English brain, though, isn't it? To say that un billón is going to mean a trillion. But, yeah. That's what they do.
to say billions, we use mil millones. So for example, 1 billion would be
1,000 millones.
And 8 billion would be
8.000 millones.
So remember, we don't use billones for billions. And this is the part that really trips students up.
Not only students.
Well, that
Not
and
only
with
students.
dealing with billions, if we have numbers in the millions place, we're actually going to break up the words mil and millones. That can sound a lot harder than it is. So let's see an example.
But actually, since that is something you are not likely to need to use yourself, we're not going to practice those. But you can look at it later if you like, just so that you know that difference between mil millones and billón. What that means is maybe important to know, but your need to actually say it is likely never going to come up unless you're working in a scientific setting. Yeah, if you're working in a scientific setting, maybe you do that, but otherwise, you probably don't. Okay, let's do a little dictado. Dictado, we're going to do three-digit numbers and then some things in the thousands. And okay. And so all you need is a piece of scrap paper, something you're not going to save because really you need to save this for posterity. I don't think so. Back of your latest grocery receipt is okay. Un lapizo, una pluma, un boli. Just something to write with, to scribble with. Okay, some three-digit numbers. Here we go. 478. 478. Una vez más, one more time. 478. Okay. Número dos. Aquí, 750. 750. 750.
50.
You're just going to write it down as digits. Don't write out the words because we don't do that in English either. Yeah. Don't write out the words. 750. Here comes the third three-digit number.
300.
Pa, 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 pa. Bien, bien, bien. 645. 645. 645. 645. Okay. Vale. Let's take a quick look so that you can double check yourself before we go to the longer ones. Okay. Here we go. We've got 478, 750, 645. Bien. Vale. Okay. Adelante.
Right.
Moving on. We're going to bien. So, things in the thousands. Bien. 1936. 1936. 1936.
6.
Bien. Siguiente. Next one. 1825. 1825. 1825. Okay. Siguiente. Next one. 1213. 1213. 1213. And let's do a quick check before we get too far off so that you can check yourself on thousands. And these might be for years, yeah, like in a history class, right? 1936, 1825, 1213. 1213, not 1203, but 13. Bien? Vale. Okay. Let's do a few more in the thousands, but things that might have sounded a little bit like they were from the Colon video. Because she talked about historical ages and how many thousands of years ago. Okay, just to refresh your memory. So we're going to use a few of those kinds of references. Bueno, 5.300. 5.300. 5.300. 5.300. Bueno, siguiente. 10.500. 10.500. 10.500. 10.500. Bueno, 30.000. 30.000. 30.000. 30.000. Bueno, y dos más. 180.000.
Ciento,
180.000. Oh, perdón, perdón, perdón. 280.000. 280.000.
cien,
280.000, perdón. 280.000. 900.000. 900.000. 900.000. These tend to be hard. Okay, let's take a look. Adelante. I think we started with our 5. Here we go. Aquí vamos. Here are the numbers. And, this is a skill that just needs repeated drill over and over. I will make sure I include that little website that will give you random numbers to quiz yourself. It will say numbers and see if you can write them down as digits. That's the skill you want to do because
okay,
you're never going to write these out as full words, as we seldom do in English either. Okay? ¿Todo bien? All good? Sí, Nora.
I have noticed on the radio in Minnesota, at least when I listened, a common phone number prefix is 612, which we say as 612. But they always say 612, and then they put the two things together. So they
Okay.
do, but maybe because it's, English, it's in English, area,
Yeah.
they say it the same form.
I think I think you're right, Nora. You're onto something with that. And that is, the way that the numbers are grouped in that whatever country you're in, they'll generally lean towards that grouping. So yeah, 612 being an area code, like if you're on the west side of Phoenix, somebody will express that as 623 maybe.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes the custom or the grouping of the country will kind of lead off however that's going to go.
And I'm so bad at numbers, it's taken me 2 years just to get to the seis doce, and the rest of it, it's just beyond me.
And you will notice even the native speaker in the video was like, when she got into the billions of things, like, yeah, I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
It's you know, if you're really good with numbers, as my husband is, it's like, you know, no big deal. But yeah, for me, that is a thing that we have to listen to carefully, and it's kind of tough. Okay. Bien, fantástico. Okay. There are a couple things I want you, or I'm going to actually tell you about this video as here's our listening video. So we're going to devote some time to this. I wanted you to notice how she used numbers, and she used historical dates, you know, like maybe 1492, 1492 for Colón, for Columbus. But she also used a lot of historical time markers, you know, 20,000 años, 20,000 years. She had a lot of number references. So that's part of why I assigned this when I did, because I knew this was a topic of interest for people. And I also, you know, kind of keep this link because if you listen to it a second time, you'll notice there are a few words that keep coming up a lot. Like she keeps using the word tampoco, tampoco. And the reason she keeps on using tampoco is she's going, not then either, not even then, yeah? And that tampoco is the not even word. If we get time to today, we may take a look at that later on. But there are some things that get repeated, like the numbers, like the tampoco or the todavía no, not yet, todavía no. So there are, you know, a few words that you hear with great frequency in that video. Quiero saber si hay alguna pregunta. I do want to know if you have any questions about vocabulary she used in that, or any chunks of phrases that might have been tough. ¿Alguna pregunta? Sí, sí, bien. Sí.
¿Qué es ADN? N.
Oh, DNA.
No, ADN.
Yes, DNA.
Oh, that's what DNA is. Thank you.
Yeah. Sometimes when, you know, we use triple letter things that they get switched into a different order because of the way that it's expressed in
Okay.
Spanish. Yeah. And I have a rough time in English with even getting out deoxynucleic acid, you know, yeah. No, DNA. Yeah. So ADN, don't ask me for the full words with that because everybody says ADN, and that's what I'm used to hearing. Buena pregunta. Good question. Anything else? Algo más, sí, Mariana.
This is just word substitution questions, but she used sino que as but. And I would have used pero. Are they interchangeable?
They are not interchangeable ever.
Okay.
Ever. Sino, sino means but, and I would add something else. So we'll come back to that in a bit. Pero is the first word you learn because pero is more important for the English speaker to learn because pero, of the two words that are defined as but, B-U-T, pero is one word, sino is another. Pero is the one that comes up more frequently. That's why you learn it first. But sino is like saying but rather.
Okay.
Aha. That is probably worth a look. Do you have a number stamp?
It's at the very beginning. It was like, let's see, at the 0.22.
Okay. Oh, point.
It was the very, very beginning. I had to look it up.
Yeah. Okay. Because in context will mean more than just the isolated word.
Okay.
Always in context with these will mean more. Sino out of context is tough to describe, but the closest we would have is something like saying rather. And first when she says sí, no, it just means yes and no. But
América fue descubierta al menos 7 veces antes de la llegada de Colón. De hecho, Colón no fue el primero, sino que fue
here we go. Colón no fue el primero.
El último en llegar.
Colón no fue el primero. Columbus was not the first, but rather he was the last. And yes, sino que, and we need a que because she's adding a clause, a mini sentence, not just a word, but a mini sentence. Fue el último en llegar is the last clause. It is a mini sentence within a sentence. That's what all that a clause is. Sino que fue el último en llegar, but rather he was the last. He was not the first, but rather the last. And there, pero would not make sense.
Okay. Thank you. I had one more.
Okay.
It was at 1.26. She used Jevaba, and it didn't seem to fit in the sentence to me.
Okay. Let's listen to that. And I think you're going to get a pero. So you'll see a contrast of how we use pero. And again, we're going to back it up a little bit so that you got context. Aquí. Here we go.
América. Pero para muchas personas.
But for many people, not but rather, just but for many people. This is the but that you learn first because it's what we hear more frequently than sino.
Decir que Cristóbal Colón descubrió América es algo que está mal. Es algo incorrecto. ¿Y por qué? Bueno, porque América llevaba muchísimos años habitada antes de la llegada de Colón.
Okay, here it is. And this is something that will sound odd. Okay, let's take just that word llevar. Llevar has many uses there, and that is why we have a problem with this. Llevar can mean to wear clothing, to have it placed on your body. Llevar can mean that you take somebody in your car, for example, or you take your grandkid in their stroller, por ejemplo, okay? Or you take your dog to the vet. That's also llevar. So it can mean to wear clothing. It can mean to take something or somebody somewhere, put them in your car or the stroller, and move them to a different place. Okay? Llevar can mean to transport something to a different location. Llevar can be also used kind of where, let me back up the whole thing, and I'm going to put it leave the subtitles on. América llevaba muchísimos años habitada. America was inhabited many years beforehand.
Desde la llegada de Colón.
Before the arrival of Colón. It was inhabited. Llevar is often used as a marker for something has been going on. And in English, we would say something has been happening for a certain number of years. Okay, I will give you another example, but something that is less archaeological in nature. Okay, I could say, like, maybe I can't remember how many years. But I'll give you a kind of a vague idea. Yo llevaba más de 10 años enseñando en un colegio. Yo llevaba más de 10 años enseñando español en un colegio. That would be another example. Llevar is often a marker for saying something has been going on for a certain number of years. So here, llevaba muchísimos años habitada. It had been inhabited or occupied for many years. Yeah. And the
Could you use,
llevaba is the
could you use
imperfect.
tener? Could you use tener in that? Tenía?
We could not use tener here because it would change the meaning. I mean, you could, but then you'd be changing the meaning.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Por ejemplo, um, um, durante la Guerra Civil de Estados Unidos, during the American Civil War, okay? Durante la Guerra Civil de Estados Unidos. Estados Unidos tenía casi 100 años. Tenía casi 100 años. America was almost 100 years old. It wasn't quite, but yeah. Tenía años is to be a certain number of years old. Okay? ¿Entiendes? It doesn't mean something was going on. Okay? It means that somebody was a certain age or something was a certain age. All right? I could say, mi suegra tenía 80 años. My mother-in-law was 80, right? But mi suegra, my mother-in-law, mi suegra llevaba toda la vida tejiendo. All her life knitted. She was knitting all her life. Okay, ¿entiendes? Sí.
Gracias.
Tener años is always age, a specific age, or, well, a general age. Sí, Nora.
Just this week in Tucson, I saw some plaque that also had Yevar, which I didn't expect. I think it was, I don't know, something led to the capture of some bad guys. But so I looked it up, and also just now I see that Yevar says live through. Is that kind of what you're using in this
Kind of like
example?
that. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
To live through those number of years. I don't know. There's about 1 million examples of how you could use Yevar.
Llevar, yeah. Llevó, it's something that led to something. It can be used in that sense too. Llevar also talks about what's in your food, like ingredients.
Oh,
¿Sí?
wow.
Este plato lleva mucho ajo. This dish has a lot of garlic. Could you say el plato tiene mucho ajo? Yes, you could. But lots of people, because they feel like it for no other reason, why? Because they feel like it, will just say, este plato lleva mucho ajo. Cuidado, cuidado, careful. You know, you're the person who doesn't like a lot of garlic. Cuidado. Este plato lleva mucho ajo. Okay, so lleva has many, many uses. It's kind of like get has many uses in English. Lleva has many uses, but the context, all the other words around it, determine what meaning it will carry. Bien. Okay. Buenas preguntas. Good questions. Wow. ¿Hay algo más? Is there any other question about something that was said? Sí, di.
¿Qué es Ursia?
Forcia?
Ursia. No es en mi diccionario. Ursia.
¿Puedes decirme dónde está? Can you tell me where it is? Or spell it
Toward the
out for me.
beginning. Toward the beginning. It was after equipment and footsteps. Uracia. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Okay. Okay, Eurásica. That was an AI mistake. Para que sepas, so you know.
Okay.
AI didn't know how to pronounce that. Therefore, wow, that's a word it has not learned, or it has not learned. AI has not learned that word. It came out like Eurasia, Eurasia. It comes from Europa, Europa. When you saw that in AI, it was wrong. It's an EU. It was an EU. That's why I was misunderstanding. Okay.
Thank you.
Eurasian, Eurasian, right? Meaning from that kind of area where Europe and Asia meet and mix in, Eurasian.
Thank you.
Eurasia, Eurasia. Buena pregunta. Good question. That was an oddball in the AI, and I did notice it's like, that word is wrong. Okay. It tried, it failed. Okay. Nada más, nothing else. Nada más. Fue un video bastante interesante, ¿no? That was kind of it. Yeah, sí, fue interesante. No fue exactamente como una lección de historia, sino que fue, but rather it was, sino que fue algo de hablar de la migración de grupos enteros de personas, de seres humanos, a otra región del planeta, ¿sí? Ok. Bien, entonces sí, el video se trata del origen de los grupos de personas que realmente descubrieron el continente que sabemos como las Américas, los dos continentes que sabemos como las Américas. Ah, bien, entonces, vamos a ver qué, ¿qué piensan ustedes? ¿Qué opinan ustedes de estas dos preguntas aquí? ¿Alguna vez have you ever seen at some time have you seen alguna vez has visto un sitio arqueológico? This is a long word. Arqueológico. Archaeological no es una palabra fácil en inglés tampoco. It's not easy in English either. ¿Alguna vez has visto un sitio arqueológico en Estados Unidos o en otro país? O en otro país. ¿Has visto? ¿Has visto? Sí, di.
Fue a Mesa Verde, Pueblo Grande, Machu Picchu y otros lugares Incan.
Incas, sí.
Montezuma Castle
Wow.
National Monument, Tonto National Monument, Walnut Canyon, Canyon de Chelly. I'll leave the rest for everyone else.
Ay, una lista muy larga.
Sí.
Has visto muchísimos sitios arqueológicos, sí. Muy común, sí. El único que no es muy común es Machu Picchu, porque sí es difícil llegar a Machu Picchu en Perú. Bien, ¿alguien más? ¿Alguien más? Tenemos muchos sitios aquí en nuestra región, ¿no? De interés. ¿Sí, Jen?
Sí. Cuando estuve en Gracia vi muchos sitios arqueológicos. El más famoso fue el Parthenon.
Okay,
Había muchas esculturas.
muchas esculturas, sí, un edificio muy antiguo, sí, viejo no es bastante, old is not enough, sí, antiguo. En estos casos, antiguo es una palabra mucho mejor, ¿sí? Porque they are really ancient, ¿sí? Bien. Y es muy famoso en la cultura, ¿sí? De nuestra civilización europea. Bien. ¿Qué más? ¿Qué más? Otros sitios. Mariana.
Oops, I got it. Yo también he visitado muchos sitios arqueológicos, pero mi favorita es Machu Picchu. Es un lugar con mucha historia y también muy hermosa.
Sí, un sitio muy hermoso también,
Muy
sí.
hermosa.
Además de ser algo interesante desde el punto de vista de la historia, sí, de las Américas, sí, también está, Machu Picchu está ubicado, it is located, está ubicado
Ubicado.
en un lugar
Que-
de gran belleza natural.
Sí, sí. Es en Perú, un cresta montana.
Montañas.
Sí, here's my practice. A 7,907 pies is
Pies, feet.
pies is measurement as feet. Okay.
Sí, sí. Pies, ah, metros, sí, pero pies.
Okay, pies, yeah.
Sí, pies, sí, se usa para feet, sí.
Wait, tell us that number again so we can practice it.
7,970.
70, sí. 10,000, 10,000.
Siete.
O 7, perdón, 7,000.
7,970.
970.
Did you get it, Nora?
Ok.
Was it 7,970 or something?
Yay.
Sí,
Hey, no, I need a lot of practice. Thanks.
eso es, sí. Bien, bien. Bueno. ¿Qué más tiene una experiencia de visitar algún lugar? Algún lugar. Ok, Lori.
En 2007 visitamos Mesa Verde en Colorado. Hay ruinas de los nativos americanos. Había muy interesante. Yo tenía 46 años y las rodillas y caderas estaban mejor que ahora. Ah, pude, pude subir la escalera en el lado del acantilado, cliff, acantilado.
Sí,
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 and gatear is what it gave me to crawl. So to say I crawled, gateé.
sí,
Did I say that right? Okay.
sí, sí.
Gateé a través de un túnel estrecho. Tenía un poco miedo.
Sí, a veces se siente claustrofóbico, ¿no? O claustrofóbica. En, si estás dentro de un túnel, sí. Ah,
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 subiendo ah, el acantilado. ah, mm, tenía mucho miedo.
mm,
You're on a
eh,
ladder. If I don't know if anyone's ever gone to Mesa Verde in
sí,
Colorado.
sí,
I mean, it's
sí,
beautiful, but man, it's scary because you can fall to your death.
sí. Ah, ah, sí, es interesante que en aquellos sitios arqueológicos de los indígenas, sí, muchas veces sí vivían allá o coleccionaban, recogían, they would gather up, recogían los granos, ¿sí? La comida en lugares muy altos para proteger, ¿sí? Y bueno, a veces quizás es porque era muy importante proteger la colección, ah, todo el colectivo de la comida. Y para ver si había amenazas en el horizonte, see if there's some menace on the horizon, sí, algo allá. Bien, ok, bueno, Nora, y Marcos, Nora y Marcos, ¿sí?
Okay, I have one you probably haven't heard of. He visitado mi hermano que vive en el estado de Georgia,
Ajá,
cerca Akmulgi Mounds. No parecen muy importante ni emocionantes comparados con Machu Picchu,
ajá.
pero había más de, here's some words, I looked these up in Wikipedia. 12,000 años de habitación humana continua.
Wow,
People have lived there for more than 12,000 years.
wow.
Entre 1933 y 1936, más de 800 hombres estaban trabajando ahí con un científico de Smithsonian.
Wow.
Descub-
800 hombres.
yeah, through the WPA or whatever.
Ok.
800 descubrieron 2,500,000 artifactos.
Artefacto.
They-
Wow.
2.5 million artifacts, those
Entonces,
800 men. Yeah.
entonces fue un proyecto importante para investigar los orígenes de los indígenas de-
Sí,
del estado de Georgia, como lo sabemos, lo conocemos ahora, ¿no?
y
Wow,
economic benefit a los hombres.
wow, wow.
Mhm.
800 hombres, wow. No lo puedo imaginar. Bien. Bien. Vale. Oh, one thing. Before I forget, Laura used one very interesting little snippet example that I want to point out when she mentioned about, what's easy and what's hard to do and going up. Pude subir, uh, her using pude there, which was accurate, conveys a very different feeling than podía subir.
Oh,
And she got that nailed. Pude subir. Yeah, sí. Pude subir indicates I managed to do it.
oh,
Pude indicates I did it. I got it done.
Believe me, that was a one and done.
Okay. If she had just expressed it as podía subir, I was able to. I had the physical ability, but that pude subir means I did it, baby. Yeah, it's something I accomplished. And that was a great expression there. Okay, bien. Bueno, Marcos.
El verano pasado visitamos el Parque de Bosque Petrificado en
Ah,
el Petrified Forest
sí.
National Park en el norte de Arizona.
Sí.
Contiene muchas ruinas de pueblos de los nativos americanos.
Sí, es un lugar fascinante, es un lugar fascinante. Bien. Am, bueno, and actually you guys are all answering the second part, which que aprendiste, what you learned, sí, todos aquí. Es interesante que de los artefactos y los lugares de los indígenas en el este, en la parte del este de Estados Unidos, en the eastern part, ¿sí? Siempre se usa en inglés la palabra mounds, ¿sí? Son mounds de los indígenas, ¿no? Y en el oeste, sí, tenemos muchas montañas, sí, es una región montañosa, así que sí, no se dice mounds aquí en el oeste. Eh, Tenemos cañones, tenemos montañas, pero mounds no. Mounds en como Indiana, mounds en Ohio, no mounds en Georgia. Es así, sí. Sí, se trata del terreno de nuestro país. Bueno, hay más experiencias de un lugar arqueológico, un sitio arqueológico. Carrie, let's give you a shot now. Oh, and you're on mute. Estás muteada.
Antes de COVID, visitamos el pueblo de Taos en la reserva de Taos. Es la casa más antigua de Estados Unidos que ha estado ocupado continuamente.
Ajá.
Ah, no creo que nadie vive ahí todo el tiempo, ya que no hay baños ni electricidad.
Bueno, no. Sí, sí.
Um, Cada familia debe, now here's, so I wasn't sure, mantener, or is it, debe mantener su unidad de apartamento.
I can't remember the word now.
So
Sí,
each family has to maintain their portion of the,
sí,
it's
sí.
yeah. Is it
Okay.
mantener?
Sí, sí, mantener, yeah.
Mhm.
Keep up, maintain. Sí, eso es, sí. Bien, bien. Fantástico. Ok. A ver. Bueno. Bien. Dee, you had something else. ¿Sí? ¿Tienes
Oh,
algo más que quieres?
muchos años. Um, fui a los pirámides de México,
Pirámides.
de las, ¿qué?
Pirámides.
Pirámides de,
Pirámides.
cerca de la Ciudad de México, pero no
Ah.
recuerdo nunca ahora.
Ok. Sí, las pirámides en México, por lo general no suben a un punto para en la cima. Sí, hay una parte, sí, plano aquí en la cima y hay una diferencia en la forma de los pirámides de México y en egipcio, en Egipto, ¿sí? Tienen varias formas, ¿sí? Bien. Ok, vale. Muy bien. Algo más, algo más. Otro comentario. u otra observación. ¿No? Ok, vale, magnífico. Bien. One other thing I want to kind of reinforce and practice with the time we have left. I had like about 3 things listed, but I want to do this because you heard it a lot in the video. And it was always as a little ha-ha aside from Agustina, la presentadora, the lady who did the video. Her little ha-has asides were, well, and here comes Columbus, and then it would be, well, not yet, or nope, not then either. Okay. And some of those words can be kind of important and kind of like the pero and sino that Mariana brought up. And we'll do another day where we talk about pero and sino. But this one, I think, more than pero and sino, this comes up actually quite a lot. The difference between también and tampoco. Yeah, they both begin with tam, T-A-M. También and tampoco are like opposite sides of the same coin. También and tampoco. And you heard her use tampoco quite a lot in the video. So we're going to have a little mini lesson on that, and we're going to practice how it's used a little bit, okay? Un video aquí. Sí. A ver, okay. ¿Pueden ver a la pareja? Can you see the couple here? ¿Sí?
Yes,
Bien,
sí.
bien, vale. Bueno,
Español. Today we're going to talk about 2 very important words, también and tampoco.
So these are the words that Spanish uses in order to agree or disagree with somebody else.
And notice they're used to agree or disagree. They're used to agree in an affirmative way that backs up and expresses the same opinion, or they're used to agree in a negative way. That is the key. Whether you're agreeing to something positive, whether you're agreeing to something in a negative, that is the key. And when English speakers learn these words, the first word they learn always is también. También is to, T-O-O in English, or also, or I guess you could say as well. Yeah, that's también. That's the word you learn first. But then there's also this tampoco, and it's kind of the other side of the coin. Okay.
I'm always getting confused why sometimes I'm supposed to respond with yo también or yo tampoco, and other times I'm supposed to respond with a mí también or a mí tampoco.
And often these 2 words are just used as a response, not in a whole sentence. They can be in a whole sentence, but often they're thrown out as a very short word response, not as a great big long sentence. So that's how we're going to view this.
So what's going on here?
First, let's look at how también connects with positive or affirmative ideas and how tampoco connects with negative ideas.
And then we'll get into how to use each one to clear up the confusion and improve your Spanish.
First, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you still haven't.
And afterwards, don't forget to check out the website where you can get a free gift.
Let's start with también, which is used to agree with a positive or affirmative idea.
So in order to use también, to, T-O-O, or also, it means that we're agreeing with something that is a positive type expression. And that is es la clave, that's the key.
And también is going to mean to, also, or as well. And it can be used with experiences, opinions, actions, and states of being. So let's see some examples. I live in a small town, and my sister does too.
Vivo en un pueblo pequeño y mi hermana también.
So here is a positive or affirmative idea. I live in a small town, and we're agreeing with that positive idea. My sister does too. We're planning to travel in October, and our neighbors are too.
Estamos planeando viajar en octubre y nuestros vecinos también. Whereas tampoco is used to agree with a negative idea.
And here is the key here. Tampoco agrees with something, and it only is used when you're talking about an idea in a negative way.
And now tampoco is going to mean either or neither in negative sentences.
And that is the okay. Yeah. Either or not either. Okay. Or neither, neither, either, either. Yeah, we always do that in English too. So,
and remember, unlike English, Spanish requires double negation. So tampoco is always going to work with no or another negative word. So as we go through these examples also, you're going to find that in English, I'm going to say either neither, either, or either, and all of those pronunciations are fine to use. We didn't understand the instructions, and our clients didn't either.
No entendimos las instrucciones y nuestros clientes tampoco.
So the negative idea here is we didn't get it. We didn't understand. Oh, they didn't either. It's agreeing. Neither group understood, but the agreement is with a negative type action. That's why we need the tampoco.
So here you see we have a negative statement or a negative idea. We did not understand the instructions and our clients didn't either, so we use tampoco. Let's see another one. Maria has never tried sushi and I haven't either.
María nunca ha probado sushi y yo tampoco. Okay, so now we understand how to use también and tampoco. We use también to agree with a positive idea.
And we use tampoco to agree with a negative idea. But now this is where a lot of students get confused because it seems like almost every time that I respond to something Darcy says with yo también, she says that it should be a mí también. And I feel like when I try to say a mí también, she says that it should be yo también. So what's going on?
Okay, so this is what happens. Often because the response is not a full sentence, right? The response will be just a yo también or an a mí también. And that has to do with the kind of verb that you're using it with, right? And sometimes we combine an a mí with también instead of the yo también. We use yo también when it's a verb that's conjugated in all its forms, meaning we're using that verb either with a yo, a tú, an él, a usted, a nosotros, and ellos, okay, vosotros in Spain. So those verbs that go into all the different conjugations, it's yo también. A mí también are the verbs that are like gustar, right? A mí también will be verbs like gustar, right? Gustar, encantar, interesar, importar, molestar, verbs like that.
On here, why does Spanish have both forms?
The key difference has to do with what kind of sentence you're agreeing with.
Right, let's look at these two examples. If we were to say, I study Spanish, we would say,
Estudio español.
And when we want to agree with that, we would say, I do too.
Yo también.
So there's the short answer, yo también. You don't have to say yo estudio también. Just yo también answers it well enough with a fragment instead of a whole sentence. And estudiar is something that we're used to. Oh, I got to conjugate it all these ways. Estudio, estudias, estudia, estudiamos, estudian. If you've got that kind of verb, yo también is the good short response.
But now, if we were to change it to be I like studying Spanish, which would be
Me gusta estudiar español.
To respond with that same I do too, now we have to say
A mí también.
And gustar is not a verb. It can be. It does have the conjugation, but very seldom used as gustas, gustamos, gusta. Well, gustan we do use, but gusto, gustamos, gustas are only used in a flirting connotation, right? We don't need to go down that road yet, but you hear it as gusta or gustan, gusta or gustan. Those kind of verbs like gustar, use the a mí también as the response.
In the first one, we say yo también because estudiar is an action, something the person is actively doing.
Now, in the second one, we must change it to a mí también because we're not talking about an action. It's how something affects you or how you feel about it. So now let's see a different example using tampoco. If I were to say, I didn't go to the event, it would be
No fui al evento.
And if I want to respond me neither, I would say
Yo tampoco.
But now if the person were to change it to say it didn't bother me to go to the event, it would be
No me molestó ir al evento.
To get that same response of me neither, now we have to change it.
A mí tampoco.
So we see when we're talking about an action, I didn't go, we get the response yo tampoco. But when we say it didn't bother me, that's how it affected us. We have to say a mí tampoco. So if this still seems confusing to you, think of this simple trick. When the sentence is about a clear action, something the person actively does or did, the response stays simple with just the subject and then también or tampoco. Margarita exercises in the morning.
Margarita hace ejercicio por la mañana.
Jason does too.
Jason también.
So here we respond with Jason también because we're talking about a specific action. She exercises in the morning. Jason does too. We leave the office late on Fridays.
Salimos tarde de la oficina los viernes.
They do too.
Ellos también.
So here we're talking about the action of leaving the office. So it's ellos también. They do too. I don't eat meat.
No como carne.
And notice this is a negative action. No como, not como, but no como.
Gabby doesn't either.
Gaby tampoco.
I didn't sleep well last night.
No dormí bien anoche.
Neither did you all, right?
Ustedes tampoco, ¿verdad? But when the sentence isn't about a direct action, but instead expresses how someone is affected by something,
Spanish uses the structure a plus pronoun plus también or tampoco.
And a big clue about when to use this format is with backwards verbs in Spanish. Now, if you don't remember what backwards verbs are,
backwards verbs are just the verbs that are used like gustar.
You can check out our video here, or we'll also leave the link in the description of this video.
But basically, these are verbs like gustar, molestar, doler, parecer.
Obviously, this is a big list of backwards verbs. If you want, you can take a moment to write them down or take a screenshot. Let's see some examples. I don't like the movie.
No me gusta la película.
Me neither.
A mí tampoco.
So here we don't have a direct action. We're talking about how something affects us or how we feel about something. So we need a mí tampoco to express me neither. The delay didn't worry you.
No te preocupó el retraso.
It didn't worry him either.
A él tampoco.
And some of these can get a little bit tricky. If I were to say to a group of people, my back didn't hurt after the hike.
No me dolió la espalda después de la caminata.
They might respond to me, ours didn't either.
A nosotros tampoco.
They don't like the new boss.
No les cae bien el nuevo jefe.
She doesn't either.
A ella tampoco. So, as a quick reminder, with a clear action, you'll use yo también or tampoco, tú también or tampoco, etc.
And when someone is affected by something or talks about how they're feeling about something with an indirect object is when you'll use a mí también or a mí tampoco.
Okay, so I'm going to leave this at this point. They've got a little bit more at the end, but I want you to see some of the practice that we've got next. ¿Está bien? ¿Entienden? Understand that? ¿Sí? ¿Sí? Bien? Okay, vale. Vale la pena. That is really worth it. You heard her use a lot of tampoco in the exercise or in the video. And we're going to see if we can put some of this into practice. A ver. So remember, we're pairing up también when you agree with something and it's being said in a positive way, right? We agree with something, but we're agreeing with a negative idea with the tampoco. Okay? A ver, let's see if we can put this in the prayer. Fui al cine. I went to the movies. Fui al cine la semana pasada. Fui al cine. Now in English, yeah, perdón. In English, I went to the movies. Somebody wouldn't respond, I didn't either. They might just say, I didn't go. Okay, but we're agreeing with this. Sí, fui al cine la semana pasada.
Yo tampoco. I,
Yo también,
yeah,
Yo
yo también.
también. Why does it need to be yo también?
because
The
it doesn't
verb.
have a gustar verb in it.
Yeah, because it's a regular, yeah. Sí, yo también, también, it has to be también, not tampoco, because fui
You're
is
right.
a positive thing, right? It's not no fui, it's fui. All right. If it were no
Could it
fui,
could it be a mí también?
not an a me, because
Okay.
fui, yeah, not a me.
Okay.
Ir
Mí
is not a
también.
verb like gustar. Ir we use in all its different forms. See? And here it's a past, so they don't look like ir, right? Because ir is so irregular for preterite, for went. But fui, fuiste, fuimos, fueron, yeah, fue, all of those. If you can conjugate the verb into all those different forms, then yeah, it's just gonna, it won't be a mí también. It'll be yo también, yo también, yo también. Okay, so I'm gonna put that in. Yo también. Okay, vale, bueno. Ah, siguiente. No vi a mis nietos ayer. I didn't see my grandkids yesterday.
Yo tampoco.
Yo tampoco. Yo tampoco. Me either.
Okay.
¿Sí? ¿Sí? Yo tampoco. Me either. Yo tampoco. Oh, what if you want to say, oh, I did see mine. I did.
Oh,
Then you're not agreeing with the person. Yeah. If you're saying I did see them, it might be yo sí los vi. I did see them. I did, yo sí. Yo sí los vi. Yes, them saw. That's it, yeah. But that's not a statement of agreement, right? A statement of agreement, but agreeing in a negative way is me neither, yeah. Yo tampoco. Ver is a verb that conjugates all the different ways, right? It's not like gustar. Vi, viste, vio, vimos, vieron, all those different conjugations. So yo tampoco. Ok, no recibí todos los documentos para calcular mis impuestos. I didn't receive all the documents to figure out my taxes.
yo
Yo
tampoco.
tampoco.
Ah, yo tampoco. Yo tampoco. Me either. Yeah. And we've got a negative statement, okay? Which is why we need the negative agreement word, yo tampoco. No recibí, no recibí. Yo tampoco, me either, ¿ok? Llovió en mi barrio el martes por la mañana. It rained in my neighborhood Tuesday morning. And here where it's not can't be a yo because I don't rain.
Oh,
Yeah. But you maybe be responding, oh, here too. Here too.
aquí tampoco.
Aquí, yeah,
Amiga,
sí.
también.
Aquí también.
Aquí también.
También.
Aquí también. Aquí también. Here too. Yeah, because I don't rain. So we can't use a yo there, right? Llovió, it rained. Aquí también. Here too. Yeah. Okay. Bien, me encanta ver los partidos de béisbol en la primavera. I love seeing those spring baseball games. Me encanta ver. I love to see them.
A mí, a
A
mí,
mí también.
A mí también. And why a mí?
Encanta.
Encanta. Encanta is a verb like gustar, right? All those verbs like gustar that we only use as gusta, gustan, encanta, encantan. Yeah, right. We need that a mí is what we use, right? And it's an affirmative, it's an affirming statement. Me encanta, I love, right? It's not saying I don't love it. I
Maybe
do
it should
love it.
be a Marco también.
Sí, a Marcos también. Exacto. A Marcos también. Eso sí. Perfecto, perfecto. No me interesa la película la nueva película, Melania.
No me tampico.
Okay. And remember, interesa, it doesn't mean I'm interesting. It means it is interesting to me. And we do need a
A
tampoco.
mí, no tampoco. How do you make that emphatic?
Okay. A mí tampoco. A mí tampoco. Not me either. Yeah, if you agree in a negative way, see, a mí tampoco. A mí tampoco. A mí tampoco. This is like gustar, right?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Something is interesting to somebody else. A mí tampoco. Okay, vale. Bueno, siguiente, siguiente. Okay, we'll finish these last two. Ooh, I'm running a little bit over. This one is difficult. Me dan miedo las serpientes. Oh, man. Snakes scare me. And notice dan is conjugated for snakes because they do the scaring. Me dan miedo. They give me fear.
Okay.
Los,
Me también.
también.
We need a también because we're agreeing with an affirmative. It's not no me dan, it's me dan, right?
Yo también.
A
This
mí
will
también.
be
Oh,
a
because
A
mí
me?
también.
Scared
Yeah.
because it's scared.
Yeah, because something gives fear. It gives fear to me.
How about us?
Yeah, a mí
Is it a
también.
nos or a nosotros?
A nosotros también. You might, yeah, if you're answering for the group, a nosotros también. Yeah, so it might not be a mí. It could be, oh, I'm talking for everybody in the group. Sí, a nosotros también, a nosotros también. Bueno, sí. No me importa tener toda la ropa de última moda. I don't really care about having the latest fashion and clothing.
a mí también.
A mí, the a mí part,
Tampoco.
why is it tampoco? Because,
Oh, no, easy.
a mí tampoco.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't either, not me either. Yeah, that's the response. Bien, see? Okay, entienden. Got the general idea? And I'll send you that whole thingy there so you can see the response there. Okay, bien,
Okay.
bien, fantástico. Sí, entienden, entienden. Understand?
Yeah, that was really good because I've always wondered when to use yo versus me,
I
like,
mean, yeah. That is, yeah, it's one of those little things, and it's one of those things that it will just, somebody may understand you if you make a mistake with it, but it's just easier for them to, they don't have to like, what did they really mean? It sounds more natural if you get the yo or the a me right. Okay. Perfecto. You will get a new listening. I'm running late, and I know you'll have to run off to do your different things. You're going to get a new listening video and maybe a little reading thing, but it's going to be extremely short. I'm going to send you a link which had some fascinating pictures. I'd hoped to go through the pictures, but there wasn't time. I don't know if the New York Times link will work for you. But the little reading snippet from it will work, and it's a very easy thing to read. So you'll have a little reading section and a listening video. ¿Todo bien? ¿All good?
Sí.
Perfecto, perfecto. Muchísimas gracias por participar. Thank you so much for participating. Que tengan buena semana. Have a good week. Sí, que tengan buen día. Have a good day.